They say having a child changes everything, but nobody warned me it would make me soft at exactly the wrong time. My name is Wendy Anderson, and 3 years ago I fought a 280-pound killer in an arena to free the man I love from his grandmother's control. I won. We built an empire. And then we made the mistake of thinking we'd earn peace. Our daughter Minji was 2 years old when the threat started, messages written in blood, photos of her at the playground, whispers that the old guard wanted revenge for what we'd done to the matriarch. The same men who'd watched me destroy Kang Dae-jung were planning to take everything we'd built by targeting the one thing that could break us, our baby girl. Jun-seo's strategic mind couldn't protect her from a bullet. My skills as an operative meant nothing if I was choosing between saving our daughter and saving our organization. We needed someone else. Someone who understood loyalty deeper than blood. Someone who'd already lost everything once and refused to lose again. We needed Kang Dae-jung, the man I'd beaten unconscious 3 years ago, to become the one person we could trust with our daughter's life. And in bringing him into our family, we discovered that forgiveness, redemption, and protection come with prices we never expected to pay. This is the story of what happens after you win the war. When new enemies rise from the ashes of the old. When being parents makes you vulnerable in ways that being criminals never did. And when the man you defeated becomes the only one who can save what you love most. Before we dive in, do me a favor, if you followed Wendy and Jun-seo's story and you're ready for part 2, smash that subscribe button. Drop a like and tell me in the comments, would you trust your worst enemy to protect your child? Where are you watching from? Your support keeps these complex stories coming. Now let's get into what happened after the Sunba changed everything. Wendy stood on the balcony of their Hanam-dong home, watching Seoul wake up, and felt something she hadn't felt in years, fear. Not the clean fear of combat or confrontation, but the sprawling, suffocating fear of parenthood in a world where your past came with a body count. Inside, she could hear Jun-seo talking to their daughter Minji in that specific gentle tone he used only with her. The toddler was 2 years old, with Jun-seo's dark hair and Wendy's brown skin, his intense eyes and her bold spirit. She was beautiful and brilliant and completely unaware that her parents ran one of Seoul's most powerful organizations. After the Sunba 3 years ago, things had changed fast. Choi Sung-hee had been permanently retired to a facility where she lived comfortably but powerlessly. Jun-seo had consolidated control, and with Wendy as his acknowledged partner, not just girlfriend, not just operative, but co-leader, they'd restructured the organization. Less violence where possible. More legitimate businesses. Protection that actually protected instead of exploited. They'd gotten married quietly a year after the fight. Wendy had gotten pregnant 6 months after that. And when Minji was born, something shifted in both of them. The calculated risks they'd taken before suddenly seemed insane. Every decision was now filtered through one question: what kind of world are we building for her? You're worrying again, Jun-seo said, appearing beside her with Minji on his hip. The toddler was clutching her favorite stuffed animal, a tiger she'd named Roar. Someone left another message, Wendy said quietly. At the daycare. Written on the bathroom mirror in red marker. The matriarch's debt isn't paid. Jun-seo's face went carefully blank, his processing mode. They got inside the facility. Past 3 layers of security I personally designed, Wendy said. Whoever this is, they're not amateurs. And they're targeting her specifically. She looked at Minji, who was babbling happily in Korean and English, completely oblivious. We need to talk about what we're going to do. We eliminate the threat, Jun-seo said simply. We don't know who the threat is yet, Wendy countered. Could be remnants of your grandmother's old guard. Could be someone we've crossed in the last 3 years. Could be a rival family seeing opportunity. Until we know, we're fighting shadows. Then we find out, Jun-seo said. I'll run analysis on everyone who had deep loyalty to my grandmother. Cross-reference with recent movements, financial transactions, any unusual activity. Jun-seo, Wendy interrupted gently. That'll take weeks. Maybe months. We don't have that time. Look at the escalation. She showed him her phone, photos of all the incidents. 3 months ago, a message on our car. 2 months ago, someone following her nanny. Last month, that photo of her at the playground. Now they're inside the daycare. They're getting bolder. Closer. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we need someone who can be with her 24/7. Someone who can protect her when we can't. Someone whose only job is keeping Min-ji alive. We have security. Our security failed, Wendy said bluntly. They got past everyone. We need someone different. Someone these threats won't expect. Someone who understands what it means to lose and won't let it happen to someone else. Jun-seo studied her face. You have someone in mind. I do, Wendy said. And you're going to hate it. Kang Dae-jung lived in a modest apartment in Deong, as far from the organization's territory as possible while staying in Seoul. After the Sunbu, after losing to Wendy in front of everyone who'd thought him invincible, he'd quietly disappeared from the underworld. Choi Sung-hee's funding had dried up. His reputation as an unbeatable enforcer had died on that warehouse floor. He worked construction now. Legitimate, hard labor that paid poorly but kept him busy. He was 43 years old and his body hurt constantly, old injuries from decades of fighting, new ones from the beating Wendy had given him. The kidney she'd targeted still ached in cold weather. When his doorbell rang at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, he knew it was trouble. Nobody visited him anymore. He'd made sure of that. He opened the door and found them, Wendy Anderson and Choi Jun-seo. The woman who destroyed him and the men whose war had given her the chance. We need to talk, Wendy said. Kang's first instinct was to close the door. His second was curiosity about why they were here at all. Curiosity won. His apartment was small, clean, almost obsessively organized. Jun-seo noticed immediately, it was the apartment of someone who needed structure to function, who'd lost everything and was holding on to control through rigid order. You look good, Wendy said, and she meant it. Kang had lost weight, the bulk replaced with leaner muscle. His face was less brutal, more human. Sobriety and honest work had changed him. What do you want? Kang asked in Korean. We have a daughter, Wendy said, switching to Korean out of respect. Her fluency had become native level in 3 years. She's 2 years old. Someone's threatening her. Someone who wants revenge for what we did to the matriarch. And we need help protecting her. Kang stared at them. You want me to work for you? We want you to protect our child, Jun-seo said. Not for us. For her. She's innocent in all of this. Plenty of people are innocent, Kang said. I hurt many of them when I worked for the matriarch. Why should your daughter be different? Because you're different now, Wendy said. I can see it. Whatever you've been doing these last 3 years, it's changed you. And we're offering you a chance to use your skills for something good. To protect instead of hurt. Why me? Kang asked. You could hire anyone. Private security. Military contractors. Why the men you humiliated? Because you understand what we're facing, Wendy said. You know the underworld. You know how these people think. And because. She paused, choosing words carefully, because you're someone who lost everything and survived it. Someone who knows the value of what we're trying to protect. You think I won't betray you? Kang's voice was harsh. I could take your money, learn your routines, and sell that information to whoever's threatening you. You could, Jun-seo said calmly. But you won't. Because that's not who you are anymore. I've had people watching you, Kang. Not to threaten you, but to understand you. You work construction 12 hours a day. You send money to your sister in Busan, the one raising 3 kids alone after her husband died. You volunteer at a community center teaching kids taekwondo. You're trying to build something good out of what's left of your life. Kang's jaw clenched. You had no right. We had every right, Wendy interrupted. You worked for the woman who made Jun-seo's life hell for 30 years. You beat people, killed people on her orders. We'd be idiots not to keep tabs on you. But what we found isn't an enemy. It's someone who might understand why we're desperate enough to ask for help from the last person we should trust. Silence filled the small apartment. Finally, Kang spoke. How much? Enough that you can quit construction, Jun-seo said. Enough that your sister never has to worry about money again. Enough that you can build whatever life you want after this is over. And what do I have to do? Live with us, Wendy said. Be Min-ji's bodyguard, her shadow, her last line of defense. Everywhere she goes, you go. When we can't be there, you are. When threats come, and they will, you stop them. No matter what it costs. Even if it costs my life? Kang asked. Especially then, Wendy said. We're asking you to do what we do. Die before we let anyone hurt her. Kang looked at these two people who destroyed his old life and were now offering him a new one. A purpose. A chance at redemption he'd stopped believing was possible. When do I start? He asked. Min-ji didn't understand why the big man was suddenly always around. She called him Kangshi because her parents did, though she couldn't quite pronounce it right. It came out Kangshi, which made him smile despite himself. He was gentle with her in ways that shocked Wendy. This man who'd killed without hesitation, who'd beaten Jun-seo nearly to death 3 years ago, who'd fought Wendy with intent to kill, he played tea party with a 2-year-old like it was the most important job in the world. She's not afraid of me, Kang said one day, watching Min-ji stack blocks while he sat nearby. Should she be? Wendy asked. Children usually are. I have a scary face. Scars. He touched the crooked bridge of his nose, broken so many times it had never healed straight. Min-ji doesn't know scared yet, Wendy said. We've kept that from her as long as we can. But she knows safe. And for some reason, she feels safe with you. I won't let her down, Kang said simply. And he didn't. He became Min-ji's shadow, present but not intrusive, watchful but not frightening. He learned her schedule, her favorite foods, her moods. He learned the difference between tired crying and scared crying and hungry crying. He learned that she liked to be thrown in the air but not spun, that she hated loud noises but loved music, that she only ate vegetables if they were hidden in other food. Jun-seo watched this transformation with clinical interest. He's good with her, he observed one night. Better than good, Wendy said. It's like he's found something he was looking for. Purpose, maybe. Or redemption, Jun-seo said. Do you trust him? I'm learning to, Wendy admitted. But I keep my gun close just in case. The threats continued. Escalating. Someone tried to grab Min-ji at the park. Kang broke the man's arm and 3 ribs before Wendy's security could even react. Someone poisoned food at a restaurant they frequented. Kang noticed the server's nervousness and stopped Min-ji from eating. Someone planted a bomb in their car. Kang found it during his routine check, something Wendy herself had missed. He's better than I expected, Jun-seo admitted after the bomb. His instincts are exceptional. He was the Matriarch's best enforcer for a reason, Wendy said. We just never saw this side of him. The protective side instead of the destructive one. But protection came with costs. Kang couldn't have a life outside Min-ji's safety. Couldn't date, couldn't see friends, couldn't be anything except her guardian. And slowly, Wendy saw the toll it was taking. You can take time off, she told him one evening. We have other security. You don't have to be on 24/7. Yes, I do, Kang said simply. If I'm not here and something happens, I'll never forgive myself. This is my job. Let me do it. 6 months after Kang joined their household, Jun-seo and Wendy made it official. They held a small ceremony in their home, just close family and the few people they truly trusted. Kang Dae-jung, Jun-seo said formally, we ask you to accept the role of godfather to our daughter, Min-ji. To stand as her guardian, her protector, and her guide should anything happen to us. To be family, not by blood but by choice. Kang stood there, this massive man who'd killed without hesitation, and tears streamed down his scarred face. I accept, he said, voice breaking. I will protect her with my life. I will be worthy of this honor. Min-ji, now 2.5, didn't fully understand the ceremony. But she knew Uncle Kang was crying, so she toddled over and patted his leg. No sad, Kang-shi. No sad. He picked her up gently, and she wrapped her small arms around his neck. I'm not sad, he told her. I'm happy. Very, very happy. That night, after Min-ji was asleep, the 3 adults sat together in the living room. Thank you, Kang said. For trusting me. For giving me this chance. I know what I was. I know what I did. But I swear to you, I will never let anything happen to her. We know, Wendy said. You've proven it every day for 6 months. You're not our employee anymore, Kang. You're family. Family, Kang repeated, like the word was precious. No one's called me that in a very long time. Get used to it, Jun-seo said. 3 weeks later, Jun-seo and Wendy had a crucial meeting, investors from Hong Kong interested in their expanding legitimate business operations. It would take all day, possibly into the evening. They'd be across the city at a hotel conference room. Are you comfortable? Wendy asked Kang that morning. Taking her to the aquarium. It's a public place, lots of witnesses, but we'll be fine, Kang assured her. I've scouted the location 3 times. I know every entrance, every exit, every blind spot. I'll have 2 security personnel nearby but not obviously. And Min-ji loves the penguins. She's been talking about them all week. I want to see big sharks. Min-ji announced, running into the room already wearing her favorite yellow dress and light-up shoes. We'll see sharks too, Kang promised, lifting her onto his shoulders. She squealed with delight. Wendy watched them and felt the familiar tug, the fear that came with letting her daughter out of her sight, balanced against the trust she'd built with this man who'd once been their enemy. Call me every hour, Wendy said. Even if nothing's happening. Especially if nothing's happening. I will, Kang promised. Jun-seo appeared, straightening his tie. The security team knows the protocol. Any sign of trouble, they move in. Any threat at all, you get her to the safe vehicle and call us immediately. Understood, boss, Kang said. They watched Kang carry Min-ji out to the armored SUV, her little voice chattering about penguins and sharks and fishies with big teeth. Then Wendy and Jun-seo left for their meeting, both trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in their stomachs. She'll be fine, Jun-seo said in the car. Kang won't let anything happen to her. I know, Wendy said. But I'm a mother. Worrying is my default setting now. The meeting started well. The Hong Kong investors were impressed with their operation, their vision for completely legitimate expansion. Jun-seo's strategic presentations were flawless. Wendy's operational plans were thorough. By lunch, they were close to securing a deal that would inject millions into their businesses and create hundreds of legitimate jobs. Then Jun-seo's phone buzzed. A message from the security team leader, code red. Aquarium. Moving to intercept. Jun-seo's face went white. He showed Wendy the phone under the table. Excuse us, Wendy said to the investors, already standing. Family emergency. We'll be right back. They rushed to the hallway. Jun-seo called the security leader. Report. Sir, we spotted 5 men moving in coordinated pattern toward Kang and Min-ji at the shark exhibit. Professional movements. Armed. We're moving to, the line went dead. Go, Jun-seo said to Wendy. I'll coordinate from here. Get our daughter. Wendy was already running. Kang had noticed them 3 minutes before the security team did. 5 men, moving with purpose, eyes scanning. He recognized the way they moved, military or ex-military, disciplined, dangerous. He scooped Min-ji up from where she was pressed against the glass watching sharks. Time for a different exhibit, he said calmly. But sharks. Min-ji protested. Penguins first, Kang said. Then sharks later. He moved quickly but not frantically, didn't want to scare her. Headed for the nearest exit, the one that led to the outdoor exhibits and the secured parking area where their vehicle waited. But they'd planned for that. 2 more men appeared, blocking that exit. 7 total. All armed. All professional. And Kang was one man with a 2-year-old girl in his arms. He pivoted, heading for the emergency exit. But they were faster. Cut him off. Surrounded him in the empty corridor between exhibits. Give us the girl, the lead man said in Korean. We don't want to hurt her. Just want to send a message to her parents. Hand her over and you can walk away. Kang set Min-ji down behind him, his body a wall between her and the threat. You'll have to go through me. You're Kang Dae-jung, another man said. The Matriarch's old enforcer. Heard you lost to the American woman. Heard you're not what you used to be. You heard right, Kang said. I'm not what I used to be. I'm worse. Because now I have something to fight for. They came at him all at once. 7 trained fighters against 1 aging bodyguard. But Kang had fought for his entire life, and he'd been protecting Min-ji for 6 months. He knew exactly what was at stake. He fought like a demon. Broke the first man's jaw with an elbow. Shattered the second man's kneecap with a kick. Used the third man's body as a shield against the fourth man's knife. Threw the fifth man into the sixth. All while keeping his body between them and Min-ji, who was crying now, scared by the violence she'd never seen before. Kang-shi, she screamed. Kang-shi scared. It's okay, little one, Kang said, breathing hard, bleeding from multiple cuts. Uncle Kang is here. I've got you. The 7th man pulled a gun. And Kang knew, with terrible clarity, that he couldn't stop a bullet. Couldn't move fast enough to shield her and disarm the shooter. Had to make a choice. He grabbed Min-ji, threw himself forward at the shooter, wrapped his entire body around her small frame. Covered her completely with his massive bulk. The shot echoed through the corridor. Kang felt the impact. Felt the bullet punch through his back, miss anything vital by centimeters. Felt the pain explode through his chest. But he didn't let go. Couldn't let go. Min-ji was under him, protected, alive. He rolled, keeping her covered, and kicked out. Connected with the shooter's ankle. The men went down. Kang surged up, Min-ji still clutched against his chest, and ran. Blood soaking his shirt. Vision swimming. But he ran. Made it to the main hall where people were screaming, running from the sounds of gunfire. So Wendy burst through the entrance, gun drawn, face a mask of controlled fury. Here! Kang shouted, and she saw him. Saw the blood. Saw Min-ji. Wendy reached them in seconds. Min-ji, baby, are you hurt? Kang-shi bleeding. Min-ji was sobbing. Kang-shi has OE. I'm okay, Kang said, but he was swaying. Got her out. She's safe. Then his legs gave out. He went down hard, still trying to shield Min-ji even as consciousness faded. Kang. Wendy caught him, took Min-ji from his arms. Stay with me. Medic. I need a medic now. Kang looked up at her, blood on his lips. Did I do good? You did perfect, Wendy said, tears streaming. You saved her. You kept your promise. Good, Kang said. That's good. His eyes found Min-ji. Be strong, little one. Be brave like your mama. No. Min-ji was screaming. No Kang-shi. No go. No go. I'm sorry, Kang whispered. I'm so sorry. Then his eyes closed. Security flooded the area. Paramedics rushed in. But Wendy knew. Could see it in the amount of blood, in the way Kang's breathing was shallow and stuttering. He'd thrown himself at a gun for their daughter. Had taken a bullet meant for Min-ji. And now he was dying in a crowded aquarium while a 2-year-old girl screamed for the men who'd become her protector, her guardian, her Uncle Kang. Jun-seo arrived as they were loading Kang into the ambulance. He took one look at the scene, the blood, Wendy holding their sobbing daughter, Kang's unconscious body, and understood. Is she hurt? He asked first. Not physically, Wendy said. But Kang, he won't make it, Jun-seo. The bullet hit too much. He's bleeding internally. And he knew it. He said goodbye. They followed the ambulance to the hospital, Min-ji inconsolable in her mother's arms, crying for Kang-shi, not understanding why he wasn't answering. Kang died in surgery. The doctor said he'd fought hard, his body trying to hold on even when it was impossible. But the damage was too severe. The bullet had torn through organs, and there was nothing they could do. Wendy sat in the waiting room with Min-ji in her lap, the little girl finally quiet, exhausted from crying, but still whispering Kang-shi over and over like a prayer. Jun-seo stood by the window, his face blank, his mind calculating, processing, planning. When the doctor came out and delivered the news, Jun-seo's only visible reaction was a slight tightening of his jaw. "Can we see him?" Wendy asked. "For a moment," the doctor said. "But the child?" "She needs to say goodbye," Wendy said firmly. "She needs to understand." They took Min-ji into the room where Kang's body lay, finally at peace. Wendy knelt beside the bed, holding her daughter. "Min-ji, baby, Uncle Kang is sleeping now," Wendy said gently. "A very special sleep. He can't wake up. But he loved you so much. He protected you. He was the bravest person I've ever known." Min-ji reached out and touched Kang's large hand. "Kang-shi, wake up," she said, but there was doubt in her voice. Understanding beginning to dawn. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," Wendy said, her own tears falling. "He can't. But he wanted you to know he loved you. And he'll always be watching over you." Min-ji started crying again, deep heartbroken sobs that Wendy felt in her own chest. This was her daughter's first real loss. Her first understanding that the world could take away people you loved. Jun-seo stood at the foot of the bed, looking at Kang's body. This man who'd once been his grandmother's weapon. Who'd become his daughter's protector. Who'd died doing exactly what he'd promised, keeping Min-ji safe no matter the cost. "I'm sorry I wasn't there," Jun-seo said quietly. "You shouldn't have had to face them alone." But Kang couldn't answer. Would never answer again. They left the hospital as the sun was setting. Min-ji had cried herself to sleep in Wendy's arms. Jun-seo drove in silence, his hands tight on the wheel. "What do we do now?" Wendy finally asked. Jun-seo's face was carved from stone. "Now we find everyone responsible. Everyone who planned this. Everyone who funded it. Everyone who gave the order. And then we remind Seoul why they should have been afraid of us," Jun-seo said, his voice cold. "Kang died protecting our daughter. We're going to make sure that never happens again. No matter what it costs." Wendy looked at her sleeping daughter, at the tear stains on her small face, and felt something harden inside her. They'd tried to build something better. Tried to be more than what they'd been. But the world had taken Kang, gentle, protective Kang who'd found redemption in guarding a child, and killed him for it. "I'm with you," Wendy said. "Whatever you need. Whatever it takes. We'll need to become what we were again," Jun-seo said. The strategist and the operative. No mercy. No hesitation. Complete and total elimination of the threat. "I know," Wendy said. She looked down at Min-ji. "She's going to ask about him. Every day. She's going to cry for him. And we're going to have to explain why the world is cruel enough to take away someone she loved. Then we make sure she never has to learn that lesson again," Jun-seo said. "We make the world safer for her. By making everyone else terrified of touching her." They drove home in silence, carrying their broken daughter, planning war in their minds. Behind them, Kang Dae-jung lay in a morgue, his redemption complete, his promise kept, his sacrifice total. And ahead of them, Seoul's underworld was about to learn what happened when you made the mistake of hurting Choi Jun-seo and Wendy Anderson's child. They'd tried peace. They'd tried mercy. They'd tried building something better. Now they'd return to what they knew best, calculated, precise, overwhelming destruction of everyone who threatened their family. The operative and the strategist were back. And this time, there would be no mercy. This is where we leave them, broken by loss, hardened by grief, preparing for the kind of war that will define whether they can still be the parents Min-ji needs, or whether revenge will consume everything they've tried to build. If this story gutted you the way it was meant to, hit that like button. Subscribe because part 3 is going to be brutal, beautiful, and absolutely devastating. Drop a comment. How do you come back from this kind of loss? How do you protect your child without becoming the monster you're fighting? I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, sometimes the price of protection is losing the people who protect us. And sometimes love means becoming something you swore you'd never be again.